What's going on, guys? This is your boy Rain here, and today I am back with a brand new video, and I am going to be talking about, NBA 2K26, a game that I have been playing since it came out. They sat here and they hyped this up with brand new game mechanics. They hyped this up with new graphics, new different ways to play the game. Obviously, the always being able to get a basket if you hit a green, and if you don't hit a green, you don't get the basket. Well, considering that they brought this back into this game, has created a dynamic that they had in the past, but it's actually gotten more abused because it's so much easier for you to get your hands on cheats these days that people are just hooking up their Zens and they're just furiously cheating. And it's to the point that the whole community, at least of online play, is practically unplayable. And I think there's that dynamic that makes people not want to put in $150, $200 into one My Career player just so they could be competitive online. I think this has been a dynamic that 2K has been getting away with for way too long, and it has to change. We can't sit here and just keep feeding money into 2K because they'll keep doing this shit. I'm going to be making a video about WWE 2K26 because I think they're heading down a very similar direction that NBA 2K has already done. Now, I think the big dynamic that this game has not improved on is pretty much everything. I think the game has gotten worse since the last one, in my opinion. I think the last game was actually not as shit as what people were saying, considering that they changed so much and it was made the game significantly worse. Now, there are some smoother animations in the game. I will say that 100%. There are smoother animations, but there is a lot of cheating that involves with the smoother animations that just makes it a glitchy disaster. Um, I also am going to talk about game modes that are not just My Career because I specifically don't really play a lot of My Career anymore. Last year I did. I played a lot of it. This year I haven't played too much of it. I haven't really invested it because I've only heard bad things about the hacking. So I haven't really touched into it. It was really bad last year, and I can only imagine how shit it is now that there's a green window back. But that being said, I want to talk about my biggest pet peeve with the game, which is my NBA. I'm going to be honest with you. I think this is the game mode that I play the most, to be entirely honest. I really like playing game modes where you create your own team, you create your own dynasty. My biggest complaint that I have with this game mode is that they haven't done enough change to make it unique for you. As like you playing this game mode, it just becomes boring. I find that this game is genuinely like, if unless you're putting money into this game and you're basically just sitting there putting money in the game and gambling and feeding into the My Career system, um it becomes this whole thing that the rest of the game modes are completely irrelevant to the game. um Now I also want to mention, I want to talk about another thing with my NBA that is, I think player progression has been horrible. When you play with certain guys, that unless you have to change the settings yourself, there's a lot of like you having to sandbox the game for the game itself because the game won't run properly, and they still haven't fixed this since the last one. And I don't really understand why it's so difficult for them to pull this off, but they still have fucked around with my NBA and my GM mode. um it's just ridiculous. Obviously, I don't like to talk about the card game version of this shit. That shit is just the biggest gotcha game that you can have. 2K had this shit in WWE's game as well. Obviously, getting pure influence from EA and how much money EA has made off of Hockey Ultimate Team and FIFA. So, obviously they're going to continue doing this and people are going to feed into it. It's just a disaster that people are going to still really put money into this game and expect different results every year. You know, I think annual release video games should die. Like Call of Duty, I think all the sports games should not be annual released. I think that we need to get to the point that we just have one game and we update it every year with roster updates or whatever, and you add little graphic patches. There's no point in dropping a whole game that makes people have to spend $300 every year. Like, it is a scam, bro. NBA 2K26 is a scam, and that will be the title of this video. I think it's the biggest scam in gaming. Honestly, it's like even more than WWE game, and even more than like the Hockey Ultimate Team stuff. When you're paying for packs, because I think that the fact that you have to spend hundreds of dollars for you just to have one playable character in my career, so you can compete with people online. That's the whole incentive of playing the game. So you're gonna pay for the whole game, and then you're gonna pay for the character too. And then I know people that are like, "Yo, I want to have multiple kits." And of course, you should have the freedom to have multiple kits. But the game's like, "Okay, bet $100 more for each." It's just ridiculous, man. I just can't stand it. I can't stand the greed of video game companies, man. That's really what this channel is about. It's just video game greed and just the decision making to just not give a shit about the consumer, bro. It needs to end. It just needs to end, guys. It does.